Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined today by Kathleen and Phil. Scott, unfortunately, couldn't join us tonight because he has some work stuff that is keeping him from being able to join us tonight. So it's just the three of us. How's it going, guys?
Hey, guys.
Welcome aboard, guys. I want to start singing like just the three of us. Just the three of us. We can make it.
Special treat when Phil sings on the podcast.
Oh, it's a rare event. Thank God.
So we're going to keep it brief, like we always say. I mean, we always say.
We're going to put the brief and debrief tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. We're going to try. We've said that in the past, and then I think the last episode we thought was going to be quick, and I listened today. It was an hour and 7 minutes. So much for quick.
But it was a good episode. Everyone seems to love that one.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I had somebody reach out to me today saying that they agree with me about the tiki torches, that's just a giant oversight and a bummer. But
I have to listen to it still.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know which episode we're talking about the episode where we discussed the island tower at the Polynesian. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, you can go back and give that a listen. But tonight
we discussed our disgust with the island tower.
Yeah.
Just a few of them.
We had a couple of positive things to say, but anyway, tonight we're just going to talk because for those of you who have been listening, you know that Parker, Kathleen and Scott's dog, is like our honorary co-host. Parker can often be heard snoring in the background. And Parker had her very first trip to Walt Disney World over Memorial Day weekend, went and visited the cabins at Fort Wilderness because Jacqueline and Curtis, who are also members of the DVC Clubhouse Facebook group, which if you are not a member of that group, go over there and join that group. But they were staying at the cabins at Fort Wilderness. So Kathleen and Scott headed over there with Parker. And Parker had her very first visit.
She did.
So
did you get her a set of ears? Did you get her a My First Visit ears?
She did not get ears, but Jacqueline did get her My First Visit pin. They also have pins like My First Visit, Happy Anniversary, and Happy Birthday, like big pins over at, can't think of the quick service over there.
Trading Post?
It's over there, yeah. They're like hanging on the wall and you can like take them off and get pictures with them.
At Trail's End.
Trail's End, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture that it was Peyton and Parker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With the My First Visit. Yeah. Peyton is Jacqueline and Curtis's child, and Parker is Kathleen and Scott's child.
Yeah.
one of them. So, I have to say I cracked up when I saw the pictures of Parker riding in the golf cart. Like that just looked hilarious. So tell us about Parker's visit.
So, we've lived here for a few years now, and she has not once ever stepped foot on Disney World property, mainly because, we never...
Stepped paw.
Okay, sorry, step paw. We're talking about you, Parker. She's currently under the desk right now because it's storming here, so she's shaking. We've never had the opportunity to bring her before because we don't stay at resorts that allow dogs. So, like you said, Jacqueline and Curtis, they got a few nights at Fort Wilderness. They said, bring Parker. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. It's her first visit. So we're driving there and we get under the Walt Disney World sign. And then Scott's like, oh, she's not even excited to be at Disney World. But, we pull in and, she's very cautious. She's skittish and she's like looking around at everything. And she was okay at first, like a normal dog. She's sniffing everything around. But let me tell you, when we got on that golf cart for the first time, the look on her face was like, what are you doing to me? Because it was raining too. So that didn't help.
Oh, so she had wind and rain like blowing in her face.
Yeah. Yeah. So, unfortunately it did rain. So we really couldn't do too much with her. So she was in the cabin. She was outside the cabin. We took a golf cart ride, up to
Pioneer Hall.
She walked around there a little bit, got her picture with the first visit pin, and, went back on the golf cart. But other than that, after a little while, she got comfortable. But definitely like having her there, I definitely want to stay there more. Just eventually she was comfortable and she was fine. But I would love to be able to do more things with her when it's a little bit nicer outside. Because I think she'd be totally fine.
Did you see other people with their dogs while you were there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think in her area where they were staying, I think she had said there was like 5 or 6 dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but then like even when we were just riding around, you see the dogs in the golf carts. And they're just so cute because they're just like all like smiling and happy. But I definitely want to take her back.
Yeah, that's what she looked like in the picture. She looked like she was sitting up, like she felt like she was important in that golf cart. And I just love that.
Yeah.
So if you were to rent a cabin and you were to bring her, that just be like a resort stay for you?
Yeah, I wouldn't go to any parks. I don't know how she would do with like the fireworks. I'm not sure. I guess we could try it one time, and if she didn't like it, we could just leave in the golf cart. But I think as long as she's with us, she would be fine. Like I would have to
I've met
hold.
Parker, and you said she's currently hiding under the desk, shaking because it's raining out. I think it's fair to assume she probably would not be a huge fan of the fireworks.
Well, she's fine now because she's right by me. So.
Well, I wonder if you were because when you're in a cabin, can you hear the fireworks? I feel like they're kind of blocked by a lot of trees and.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing them. No, I don't think so.
So being at the cabin, you might be safe, but if you were down on the beach by Pioneer Hall, that might be a little.
And I would like to take her there, just to try it. If she doesn't like it, we could just leave. But I'm a little sad that we didn't get to experience more with her, but because it was raining, so there's only so much you could do. But I'm definitely going back. We're definitely going back with Parker.
I think my dogs would. I would, if I ever brought my dogs, I could crate them if I left, if I wanted to do something for a couple hours. They're tiny. My dogs are 8 pounds and 12 pounds. So they are smaller than my 2 cats, but they are not great around other dogs. So they would go berserk if they saw other dogs. So I probably would have to stay in the cabin with them. So I don't know. It would kind of defeat the purpose of, and I would be terrified of them on the golf cart because they'd probably jump off. And
you would have to hold them. Listen, Parker's 50 pounds and I was holding her with her back to me and she's facing out. So that picture that you saw was me holding her and just trying to get a picture of her head.
I have the opposite problem. We have a 105-pound English lab, so he would need a golf cart of his own. He is just a big honking load of love is the only way to put it. And he would probably break out of the cabin and explore the entirety of Fort Wilderness, making friends with every other person and dog he could find. He'd probably come home with a black bear next to him. Just they'd be buddies.
I could see this giant dog, like he'd probably like drive the golf cart himself.
He's
I mean,
enormous.
Parker's friendly. So when we first got there, we actually drove to the cabin because we just had some stuff to drop off, plus Parker. And when she got out of the car, I mean, she was just sniffing around. There must have been a dog next door because I don't think they were there, but the dog was. And he must have saw Parker and he was just like barking, and Parker just looks and then just looks away. She don't care. But if there was a dog out there, she wouldn't care. She'd go up to it or even just ignore it. She doesn't even want to be bothered. But I don't know. On the way back, actually, from Pioneer Hall, it was really raining. So I really couldn't hold her because I felt like she was going to slip out of my arms. So she was at the bottom, like where the pedals are. And she was completely fine. She was sitting down there and she was just looking, as we're driving by. So she was completely fine at that time.
Do you find people are good with leashes there? Because I feel like every time you go to like a giant public place and people are there with their dogs, there's just always someone with their dog unleashed who's causing havoc. It's like being at the dog park. It's like that's the one dog that shouldn't be unleashed, and the owner's like, "But they're fabulous off leash."
I mean, Parker wouldn't hurt a fly, but I would never take her anywhere in public without a leash.
No, I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, if the general public was good, because that place is kind of a little freer than most other resorts.
All the dogs that I've seen had leashes.
Same. When I stayed there both times, when it was like the old cabin, and then once I stayed there when the new cabins opened, anytime I saw a dog, they were leashed. So I think hopefully everyone is like following that rule, because that could definitely be problematic.
Oh, for sure.
So the other thing that you got to see while you were there is the construction progress of the Lakeshore Lodge.
Yes.
How do you not see it? It's being built over the top of Pioneer Hall.
Literally.
So Lakeshore Lodge is to Pioneer Hall as the Island Tower is to the Wedding Pavilion. It's like these giant,
even closer.
It's closer.
I know, but just in terms of like these massive structures that completely change like the whole vibe of a certain area. So, when I saw, I think who was the first person, I don't remember, maybe it was Jacqueline who was the first one to post a picture of Pioneer Hall with Lakeshore Lodge in like, to call it the distance is not even an accurate statement, like literally like butting up against it.
Literally.
And it was like, it was a little shocking. Like, look, I have sold my beach club. It is gone. Like, that is a done deal. There is no turning back from that. And so, I have had my sights set on Lakeshore Lodge, but I was a little bit kind of caught off guard by how close it is to Pioneer Hall, and the modern feel of Lakeshore Lodge is not really in alignment with the pioneer days. Like, it's a totally different feel. So that was something that was I was not expecting. I thought that it was going to be set off to the side a little bit more, like, and I guess it's just also speaking to the scale of the resort. Like, the resort's going to be pretty big because it's going to extend over pretty close to where the Tri-Circle D Ranch is.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just going to be a really big resort. And I mean, it makes sense because you're going to have one side is going to be hotel rooms and the other side is going to be DVC rooms. And presumably this pool complex is going to be large and sprawling with a lazy river. But yeah, that was, when you think about the fact that they kept talking that they were building it where river country is. I mean, it's part of, like, they're part of what its footprint is river country. The other part of it is literally the backyard of Pioneer Hall.
Everything else. It is everything else. I could not believe when we pulled up on Pioneer Hall to go see Hoop-de-Doo how immense, how overpowering and how close it was. You could hand someone a cup of coffee out the back of Pioneer Hall over to that new building. It's just crazy to me. Same as you, when they talked about River Country and I remembered where that old site was, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be set back a little bit. There's a tiny bit of separation. They're kind of the same area, but they're different. It is all but attached to Pioneer Hall. It is going to change the
It might as well
landscape.
be.
It's going to change the feel. That is a big, big jarring juxtaposition there up against Pioneer Hall.
It definitely is. And I mean, it's something that I don't love that it that there's like that thematic integrity is not there. Um, but that being said, for the people who are staying at Lakeshore Lodge, they're going to be, if the plans are the same as they were when they introduced the concept with Reflections, it's going to have a restaurant, it's going to have a quick service. Plus, then it's going to have access to Pioneer Hall with Hoop-de-Doo and with Crockett's Tavern and with Trail's End right there. So, I mean, there will be quite a bit of options for the people who are staying both in the cabins, at the campground, and then at Lakeshore Lodge in terms of, of dining options. So it's not just going to be one little quick service anymore. It's going to be there should be a bunch of options. So that will be nice, but it's definitely going to take some getting used to, see that building towering, literally let's towering over Pioneer Hall.
I mean, it's different to see a picture of it than being like up close and personal with it, because the picture really doesn't do any justice at all. I remember a few months ago, I don't remember how long ago. I know it was a while ago. We were at Fort Wilderness for something, and we were getting off the bus. And you know where they drop you off at the bus? Well, they had like the fences up. So Scott's like, oh, what is that over there? So, of course he walked over there and tried to like look between the fences. And he's like, oh, this is more than a parking lot. Like something's going here. This is before they mentioned this. So when they did mention it, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, that's where it's going, like right there. I didn't think it was going to go all the way down past Crockett's Tavern. Because when you are on that porch at Crockett's, like the back side of the porch, if you make a left and you go all the way down there, I mean, the only thing separating it is a few feet, a fence and a few feet, like feet. So I don't know how they're going to incorporate that property with Fort Wilderness. I don't know if it's just going to be open. I don't know if there's going to be a walkway. I'm not sure, but it's so close that I don't know how you can't not connect it.
Yeah, and it's just a totally different vibe. I mean, it just goes back to the conversations we've had. The way they have advertised that property is not the same vibe as Fort Wilderness. I mean, if we think the Island Tower is very different than Polynesian, now compare that property with Fort Wilderness, and they are even further apart. There's just, again, I feel like we're harping on this, but be damned with thematic integrity, I guess.
Well, I'm curious because, a lot of people complained about the cabins when they were built, that they were too modern, that they didn't match the theme of the previous cabins and of what the campground and what, the Pioneer Hall area is. As they convert all of those cabins, so you're not going to have any more cabins that feel like the original Fort Wilderness. They're all going to feel like these more modern and more aligned with what the architectural design is of the Lakeshore Lodge. So I hate to say it, but it makes me worry about like what are they going to do if none of those buildings are going to have that log cabin feel? What are they going to do with the settlement trading post? With the I forget what the other trading post is called, the one that's more centrally located on the property. And with Pioneer Hall, those are going to be the only buildings left that have that log cabin feel. So are they planning on changing that too? I don't
I
know.
hope not.
I'm ready for Disney and for DVC And I mean, at this point, it's really not just this is going to be a Walt Disney World resort, not just a DVC property. I'm ready for some communication about it. Like, can we please have
Something.
other than the announcement? Like when they re-announced it, they didn't release any new concept art. They didn't say it's the same concept art. They said nothing. They just said coming in 2027, Lakeshore Lodge, a 10-story, and I don't even think they announced that it was a 10-story tower. I think people just got that information from the permits that were filed. So everyone is trying to piece together what this thing is going to look like based on the permits that were filed, and some of the stuff that is on file is stuff that was filed when they announced Reflection. So who the heck knows? I mean, I think that it's possible that all of Fort Wilderness is going to get a pretty big makeover, because what sense does it make to have all of these cabins in this more modern style and have the Lakeshore Lodge in a more modern style, but then have Pioneer Hall and the settlement trading posts? You know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, looking from my point of view, where I was looking at it, I could see the far right end of the building of the resort, and those rooms are going to be gorgeous with the balconies. I mean, it's going to be so pretty. I can only imagine, like, in the front of the resort what it's going to look like. But just on the right side, so pretty.
Yeah, it's gonna be gorgeous. And I mean, the thing that really sold me on the resort was that day that we were sitting at Wilderness Lodge and we were looking across and realizing that building is going to be right up on the water. And so those lake view rooms are going to be
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous. And then there are also going to be rooms that are going to be looking at trees or the beach, the Fort Wilderness Beach, and that's going to be pretty too. So I mean, I do think that in terms of views, there are going to be some really great views from that resort, and that's the thing that kind of sold me on it. But
I think a
I
lot
wasn't
of them.
really thinking. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about what was going to happen I was thinking about what was happening on the lake side of that building, not what
Right.
was happening on the other side
On the
where,
outside, you're going to be looking at Crockett's Tavern, people sitting on the porch drinking coffee.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to stay positive about it because I'm really looking forward to this resort, and I really hope they don't do something to even ruin Fort Wilderness. So I don't know. Trying to be positive.
And I think for me, I'm really hoping that the reason why the cabins were sold as a trust is because it is going to be absorbed by Lakeshore Lodge and be a part of it. And to me, to be able to have the option, because all of these newer resorts have super high points charts, the cabin points charts are so reasonable. So
Mm-hmm.
if Lakeshore Lodge gives you kind of a wide range of points to use, of what it's going to cost for these different units, I like that flexibility too. So, I mean, I guess it remains to be seen. I'm just hoping that in the next, you know, before the end of this year, that we get a little bit more of communication from Disney about what the heck all is going on over there.
I'm just completely apathetic about the entire property, but I will chain myself to the tree of thematic integrity. I will get behind you guys 100% just based on that. But the property itself is just an extension of Fort Wilderness now, which makes me completely eh.
Phil, I mean, you just have to try it. Like, I don't, I'm not a camper. I don't camp. But I mean, I did grow, I'm from Northeast Ohio and I did go camping growing up, but it's not like my number one thing that I want to do, but just being there is just completely, it's not even, it's glamping, but it's just a different feel when you're there. I don't even know how to explain it. I really don't even have to go to a park when I'm there. I don't feel the need to go to a park when I'm there.
I feel the same way. And if they and currently, I'm pretty sure you can rent bikes at Fort Wilderness. If
Yeah.
you can rent a bike and then bike over to Wilderness Lodge too, that would be so awesome. So, I mean, I feel like it opens up some like recreation options to have more of like a resort stay where you're not just bound to the pool or like the restaurants. Like there will be actually other things to do.
So when they were talking about reflections, did I hear, maybe I heard this, I'm not sure. Was there a walkway from Reflections to Wilderness Lodge or no?
So prior to COVID, there was a walkway from Wilderness Lodge to Fort Wilderness.
Okay.
And people would do that walk all the time. Then during COVID, they closed that walkway and it has not reopened. And now it's blocked off. And there's like, like there's fences up, more so than just the fence that was there when they closed it off for COVID. But because now that it's a construction site basically on the other side, I can't imagine that they would not open that up once the construction is done and that to connect those two resorts. I mean,
So where was it?
so if you the cabins, I believe it's where the cabins are that are on like the Boulder Ridge side. If you walked all the
Okay.
way to the end of that, there's a fence.
Okay.
If I'm pretty sure that it was that fence is what they put up to make it so that people couldn't continue to walk.
Did you ever take the walk?
I never did it, no.
Okay. I'm wondering how long it was. Like compared to.
I looked it up and it was like a 15 to 20 minute walk. Which is why I'm thinking if they were to rent bikes, you could ride over there probably in 5 minutes and, be able to go to Geyser Point or go to the Whispering Canyon, which would then open up just some even more options. And, the thing, we talked about this once before. The thing that got me really excited about this was the notion of this becoming kind of like a neighborhood type of feel, the way Crescent Lake is, where you have easy access to other resorts. And that feels exciting to me, to be able to open up the options of like, I'm staying here, but I can take a boat over to Contemporary and go to California Grill, or I can hop on a bicycle and ride or just walk over to Wilderness Lodge and have access to those amenities, those restaurants and those lounges. So that makes me excited, because then that makes me feel like there's, you're not just confined, because Fort Wilderness does feel a little bit remote compared to the rest of Walt Disney World's property. But if you're able to then walk over to Wilderness Lodge, it doesn't feel quite as remote, because I don't feel like Wilderness Lodge is that remote. I know I like that it's kind of set back so that it has like that quiet feel. But I don't feel like when I'm at Wilderness Lodge that I'm in the middle of nowhere. I
Right.
kind of get that feeling at Fort Wilderness. So I feel like Lakeshore Lodge will have like the best of both worlds of feeling like a little bit remote, but also being really connected to Wilderness Lodge, which doesn't feel quite as remote. And again, being able to take the boat over to Magic Kingdom or to Contemporary, you have lots of options over there.
I think Jacqueline and Curtis, I think they stayed maybe 3 nights, maybe 4. I'm not really sure, but it was more than 2. And I don't think they stepped foot in a park. They did. I mean, I know they've gone canoeing before. I don't think they did this time because I think the water level was too low. She had mentioned like they were playing basketball. I mean, there's just so many. There's just things to do, outside things to do,
Yeah.
And everyone's friendly there. Everyone had their golf carts all decorated for Memorial Day, and I mean, it was just
awful's the word you're searching for.
no
Bah humbug.
Yeah, I was just gonna say bah humbug. You just have to go. You have to check it out.
Negative.
Be there. Why? You might like it.
I most certainly will not.
What don't you like about it?
You have a better chance of getting me to Riviera.
I don't know. But so what I'm thinking is, what do you think? What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be the same association, or do you think it's going to be separate as Fort Wilderness?
I mean, who knows? I think that the fact that Fort Wilderness, the cabins were sold as part of a trust, there's a reason for it. And it's not a reason that has become abundantly clear, but I think that it will become abundantly clear once Lakeshore Lodge starts to sell, if those are a part of it, because there was speculation that the reason why it was a trust was because these were like kind of like mobile homes and they weren't affixed to the ground. But there are mobile homes that are sold all the time that are sold with a deeded real estate interest. So that probably is not the reason. If it was a trust, it would make it easier for it to become a part of, another association. So we'll see. I hope that that's what it is. I really do.
I hope it is. Yeah, me too.
And it would explain why they only really sold a few of them to begin with. Like they we've talked about how they needed money to, those cabins needed work. They needed to start generating income, so they started to sell them because they were able to turn those over quickly. It makes a ton of sense to me that, they're going to maybe hold off on phase 2 of those. Might be that, okay, now it's part of Lakeshore Lodge. Who knows? But I would love it to be.
I mean, it's super close. It would kind of suck if it wasn't. Super close.
Well, and when they announced the cabins and after I stayed at them, I thought to myself, like, I could see myself owning here, except that, the maintenance fees were high. So it just didn't make sense. But if as part of Lakeshore Lodge, the maintenance fees are lower, then I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting the option to have the cabins, plus I'm having the option to stay like right there on Bay Lake for a maintenance, for maintenance fees that aren't exorbitantly high. So it all remains to be seen. I just hope, like I said, I really am hoping for some communication at some point so that we could get excited. Like I'm excited about something that I've made up in my head, and I've sold my beach club contract. I mean, I was going to sell it anyway, and I will not. I am definitely going to buy something. I would like it to be the fantasy version of Lakeshore Lodge in my head. If it doesn't pan out, I've got a plan B, but
you're going to be like, this is not what I sold Beach Club for.
Right. So, and maybe Phil would come over to visit one time.
Maybe not.
Well, maybe if we had a lot of ice cream there.
Yeah, ice cream might drag me over. There are very few things that would drag me over. That might be one of them, but it would be a very brief visit.
What if we let you drive the golf cart?
Nope.
We just have to bribe him with ice cream, and that's it.
I'm just leaning into this now because it's fun. No other reason. I'm just being contrary for the fun of it.
You said that you would stay there if it was a guy's trip.
And you're not guys, neither of you.
No.
This is true.
But you did say you would stay there Phil. For that.
When Scott wakes up, you tell him to call me. We'll talk.
I just need to find a man, and then you can hang out with him so that you can go to Lakeshore Lodge.
Well, it depends on the man. I mean, I am very selective of who I call a friend.
I know. Kathleen and Scott have both said that they feel like they need to like pre-screen whoever I date so that they, can tolerate them hanging out at Disney.
What did I see the other day? It's like 7 billion people on Earth, and I can tolerate like 6 of them.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, does that wrap this one up?
Yep, that wraps it up.
I think so.
Perfect. Okay, guys. Well, we actually did keep this one brief, so debrief actually works for once. We thank you for playing along. If you could head on over to Apple Podcast, give us a like, a 5-star review, we would appreciate it. Amy?
And as I mentioned, we've got a Facebook group, so go over there, look us up. We're DVC Clubhouse. We also have a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok. So give us a follow over there. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.